a little more complicated these days. Our second reading comes from John 18, verse 33 through 37. Then Pilate entered the headquarters again, summoned Jesus and asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus answered, "Do you ask this on your own, or did others tell you about me?" Pilate replied, "I am not a Jew, am I? Your own nation and the chief priests have handed you over to me. What have you done?" Jesus answered, "My kingdom is not from this world. If my kingdom were from this world, my followers would be fighting to keep me from being handed over to the Jews. But as it is, my kingdom is not from here." Pilate asked him, "So you are a king?" Jesus answered, "You say that I am a king. For this I was born, and for this I came into the world, to testify to the truth. Everyone who belongs to the truth listens to my voice." The grass withers, the flower fades, but the word of our God will stand forever. Amen. Top chef, top dog. The show on TV called Top Chef is about chefs competing to be the best, to be the #1 chef in creating dishes that are not always the easiest to prepare, let alone the judge, who was a very angry, judgmental chef himself. The slightest mistake and you could be eliminated from the competition. And there goes your chance to be the best, to be the #1 chef. And with that, there goes any accolades that one might be working for. And then there is a top dog. It is what we say to describe someone who is considered to be the one who rises above all the other people. That person may be the boss, may be the one with the most in control, may be the one with the most power. I thought about both of these images after reading this text, especially when it is Christ the King Sunday. Christ the King Sunday came about when Pope Pius XI instituted it in 1925 in response to increasing secularism and nationalism. It reminds the church that Christ is above all things and has dominion over all creatures. As Presbyterians, we believe that on this Christ the King Sunday, the church gives thanks and praise for the sovereignty of Christ, who was Lord of all creation and is coming in glory to reign. With it being also on this last Sunday of the liturgical year, the church year, it is the culmination of the story of Jesus Christ, the story that begins with the first Sunday of Advent, which is next Sunday. So it may seem odd to hear this passage from John when we're used to hearing this passage during Holy Week, when we recall the last days of Jesus in Jerusalem before his crucifixion. Even the cover of our bulletin harkens us to remember that Palm Sunday when Jesus makes his triumphal entry riding on a donkey into Jerusalem, while the people shouted, "Blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord." Little did they know they really were welcoming a king among them. When we think of king, I think most of us would also define it as someone who has ultimate power over others. There is a time when kings ruled the nations, made the decisions for the people, called out their armies to go into battle and conquer lands and people, which makes this text from John quite appropriate for this Sunday. In our text, we hear the conversation between Jesus and Pilate, with Pilate asking Jesus if he is King of the Jews. Pilate, of course, is not a Jew, but a representative of the Roman Empire. Not a king, but one who has been given the authority to rule this province on behalf of the empire, of the emperor. Pilate is the one who is the top dog, the one with the power to execute anyone who goes against the Roman Empire as far as he understands. But when Jesus responds with the understanding that his kingdom is not of this world, Pilate takes that as an admission that Jesus considers himself to be a king. Here you have two understandings of what it means to be king. One, Pilate with power given to him to determine the life or death of an individual. One that has power over the people and is in control. Two, Jesus, who humbly stands before Pilate, one who is willing to sacrifice himself for others, one who offers life, not death. In other words, there is the earthly king and the heavenly king. Which one do you think has more power? Pilate thinks he does with his earthly kingdom. But that kingdom will be destroyed. It will not last. It will lose its power. Jesus, on the other hand, his kingdom will last forever, and those who follow in this kingdom that is not of this world will dwell in a kingdom where the power is love that Pilate does not have. This text is a clear example of irony. The one who thinks he has real power actually doesn't. The one who seems to be powerless actually has more power than anyone could ever imagine. I really had to lean on that understanding, considering the recent verdict in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. The young man who was accused of killing two men and injuring another in self-defense during a protest in Kenosha, Wisconsin, back in 2019. At the time, he was 17 years old, lived in Illinois, but traveled to Kenosha with an AK-47. The weapons charges were dismissed. There is only one person of color on the jury. He picked his own jury at random, and this jury found him not guilty. Then who is responsible for the death of these two men? What is a 17-year-old doing walking around with an AK-47? Did his parents give him permission? Why didn't the witness who pointed his pistol at this young man not claim self-defense too? Many of my colleagues posted on Facebook their dismay at the verdict, but were not surprised. And I feel the same way too. For many, it was a trial of privilege. A young white man versus two men who were actively protesting the death of a black man at the hands of police. One of my colleagues and friends, Cindy Coleman, former GA co-moderator, said, "This is a time when the Matthew 25 Church really needs to do the work of dismantling institutional racism." And so, our work begins. It may seem like the judicial system has the power now, but ultimately, it will be the judgment of the God Most High who will render a verdict on how one lived out their life. So we do not lose hope when such situations occur. We are reminded that we have a king whose kingdom is not of this world, a king who came in humble beginnings, who lived as one of us, who ate, drank, and laughed with us, and who was willing to die for us. Jesus is not your ordinary king, but he is king over all creatures, and he will come again. And when he does, it will be in all his glory. So as you gather this week, as family, extended family, and friends, to celebrate a Thanksgiving dinner, whether it's one that someone prepares in the oven and the house fills up with that cooked turkey, or whether it's just by yourself in a frozen turkey dinner that Swanson makes, remember, we give thanks to God for all of God's blessings that have come to us. And especially in this time of this pandemic, for those who are still working and have jobs, for those who still have their health, for those who still even mourn the loss of loved ones. We are grateful for them that their suffering has ended. And we can give thanks to God and find the joy to sing our praises to the one who sends us, this remarkable and incredible King, Jesus Christ. To our God and to our King, all honor and praise be given to you. Amen. For those